Hello, beautiful souls. This is Nikita. I welcome you to part two of our relationship series, which I will be taking time to do over the next few weeks. And the previous one, if you have not yet checked it out, please do go to the description box. That is my very brief and by no means complete or very comprehensive list, but you will get a fair idea of some of the main dysfunctions that you may even consider as normal in relationships and which come from our childhood, if not from our parents. Certain significant relationships in our lives, peers, what we have observed in society around us, and so on and so forth, and which is what we continue to pass on or recreate and relive with everyone, including our significant relationships such as marriage or with siblings, with colleagues, with friends, and wonder why we never get to experience fulfilling relationships. This is a gift that someone very special had given to me, and today I want to show you how beautiful it is. The smoke comes down like the water. I hope you guys can see that. Okay. I'm going to keep it there for some time. So, when we have got used to dysfunctional relationships, because that was our reality, that was the first introduction to what love looked and felt like, we keep accepting it, and that's what we dish out to others. Or if we were very unhappy and realized that there was something toxic or unhealthy, what we do maximum is go to the opposite end of the spectrum or somewhere in the middle of the spectrum and think that we have healed it or released it, whereas all we have done is just change the outward behavior, but the dysfunction continues to carry on within us. All right, so today what we are going to address is how to start, once you have recognized, okay, I carry the dysfunction of an avoidant mother with a narcissist father, for example, along with having felt ignored, unheard as a child. So now what can I do about it? Um, there are going to be many steps which I, after this series, I will be doing. Let me not go way too ahead. But okay, let's start with the first step for any healing is to acknowledge, and for that, keeping in mind the outlines, the very brief outlines that I have shared, and if it resonated, you can always research and go to well established, respected sites, or using Google or on YouTube of proper psychologists, and figure out what was the theme of that, or what does it look like in depth. And once you have seen that, okay, this is what was playing out in my life, you have to acknowledge it. And yes, it does work faster, and you do need to either write it down or speak it aloud. Writing is very essential for these healing processes, because writing is a subconscious process. And by, as I am talking, you will see how you're going to literally be rewriting everything in your experience to create that which you eventually desire. One of the things that I will be covering in this series is what it is, how can you attract the love that you deserve or that you've dreamt of, leaving these dysfunctions behind you. Okay, so the first step is acknowledgement, to say things as they are without allocating blame or pointing fingers. Instead of saying, my mother always ignored me, my father never took my side or stood up for me, you will take the onus and say, in my perspective, or you will say, I felt, or you will say, I experienced neglect, but you will not point your finger at someone. You are not going to justify it. You are not going to make excuses for it. You are not going to try to analyze or understand it. And even if you do, right now you're going to put all that aside. They did not know better, that generation. That's how they treated their children. They punished severely, they used corporal punishments, they humiliated, they compared with the neighbor's child. No justification required, because you're not accusing, you're merely acknowledging something occurred, and in your perspective, which has created your reality, that took place. Whether it was small or it was huge, there is no need to quantify it either. Try to stay away from any form of labeling, all right? Now, the second step for that will be, once you have written down, say, incidents or broadly what has been going, if it is a theme that has been always going on, I felt my sister was given a preferential treatment over me, because she was more in line with the traditional way a girl should behave. Whatever your observation, you have written it down, and this you have seen from your childhood to when you were grown up. Or my brother, I have observed, or in my experience or in my perspective, my brother was given a lot more freedom, be it to spend time with his friends, space with his own room, lesser chores at home, or freedom to choose his career, or whatever in your experience has taken place. Without allocating blame, you have written your observations. So if it is something that's been ongoing and is still going on, you will put that in a broad category. But if it is a one off incident which was traumatic for you, you will write those incidents, and you will take your time, and you can, after some time, you can do them simultaneously. Okay, the second step is to change the narrative. What does that mean? I'm not asking you to make excuses, condone, forgive, nothing right now, nothing. Changing the narrative means taking your power back from feeling victimized by circumstances, by society's rules, conditioning, your parents' conditioning, their behavior, taking the power back. How? To begin the healing, what you're going to focus on, this has to be done ideally on a double sheet register, so that over here, if you have written the incident, on the opposite side of the page you're going to make these next uh, blocks, where you're going to write, the benefit that I received from this was, okay, that is one topic. For example, the fact that my mother never stood up for me, the benefit, under the benefit you can say, I became more assertive, or I became a spokesperson for underdogs. My empathy was more evolved than other children of my age. Whatever those benefits, the silver lining, what was the um, blessing that came with that, or the benefit that came with that. I was given very little pocket money, so in the benefit you could write, I learned how to make the most with the little I had. Even when I had excess, I never overspent or overindulged. It gave me tools to cope with having less. Okay, in the next criteria, in the next block, you will write lessons. What were the lessons you received from that experience? How about that you should not be treating someone else in the same way? It taught you how to become a better listener because you felt unheard. Or it could be a negative lesson that you learned, that you learned that you could buy someone's love by giving them compliments, giving them gifts, um, paying their bills, providing for their um, vices, for example. And this, I'm not making it up, but a lot of people do this and they think this is going to keep someone with them or win over their heart, forgetting that they cannot buy love or loyalty or anything to that effect. I will be talking more about this in the next segment, which I hope to cover today. So you're going to write this criteria. What were the lessons? Then in the third, you will write what do you have to overcome. Here you could write labels. I felt victimized. I felt isolated. I felt, again, it is about I. What did you feel? Because this is the story your ego is telling you. And how will you then change the narrative? Is you are going to rephrase the very same thing that you've written here on a brand new page with this new narrative, that I am grateful for this particular experience in my life, in my childhood, in the parenting I received, or from the teachers, wherever you have experienced it, right? You will write it that I am grateful for the lessons and I choose to now clear out uh, the victimhood and choose to use it to empower myself, to make myself better. Okay. Now, here I would like to show you. Oh no, I didn't get my crayons. Okay. So, if you remember as a child, when you were very, very little, in your art class, supposing you had to draw a circle, okay, and you would hold your pencil not like this, but you would hold it right here and you would really dig into the paper trying to make the circle, and instead of the circle, a mango got formed, right? And then you take the eraser and you've erased, and then you somehow managed to make a circle because you were making a sun or something. And you think you've erased your mistake. Okay. And then when you took your crayons or your color pencil and you started coloring, that which you had erased actually gets highlighted. The thing to remember about your experiences is you can never ever wish it away. The more you stay in wishful thinking, hoping, and praying that this had never happened, if you keep sticking to your narrative, and this is what happened, and this is what so and so did to me, and this is how, that's where what you're going to keep attracting into your next relationship, into your experience, and it's going to multiply. Okay, it's going to spread. So, what happened with one person is then going to be brought forward wherever you're interacting. So, what you have to do is to realize that it has happened. You cannot change the narrative of what has already been, but it no longer needs to control you. You can change the way you have looked at it by finding where you have cleared certain karmic lessons. Did you master what you were being taught? Or are you still carrying negative emotions? What are the emotions you are associating even now? Did it make you? How did it transform your personality? Did you become suspicious, possessive? Did you become needy, clingy, insecure? Did you become selfish because that's what was you thought was the way to get what you wanted? Did you turn into a bully? Right? So, what kind of things did it take in your personality, as well as where were the blockages created? You became fearful, you became angry, which you suppressed or expressed at inopportune times or in an unhealthy way. Did you become egocentric, very easily hurt, very judgmental, critical? Write those down. What you will realize is that is not a scar. Once you start healing, you will recognize it as your individual self design. You can convert that wound into a beautiful design of your soul. When in Japan, I'm not sure if it's Japan or in China, when hand created ceramic vases or things like that would get damaged or broken, they would not throw it away. Rather, they would melt it back together and pour gold into it because it told a unique story. I'm not asking you to become hoarders. What I'm trying to say is these, what you perceive as your ugly scars, are what are your unique gifts. When you are seeking out, for example, your life mission, you will realize it comes from what you have overcome and mastered. The more you have struggled with something, it was there in your blueprint, in your script for a reason, because that's what you're here to write about, teach, heal, share, whatever, with a larger number, create an awareness about it. Not to shrivel up and disappear, but to heal it, make it into a beautiful pattern, not pattern to be repeated, just a design in that sense of decoration. You know what I'm saying? Um, and use your pain, use your traumas, use your experiences to evolve, to grow, to master it, and then spread that awareness and your gems around. Very briefly, that. Now, what do you do with that list of the negative emotions and the blockage, the list of blockages that you have now dissected and realized by observing your emotional state? What are the repetitive thoughts about that incident or that treatment that you received or those experiences that you had? One is working with Ho'oponopono with everyone from recent to your parents, grandparents, etc., doing Ho'oponopono religiously, continuously for months till you reach a state of being a blank slate, when you can narrate or rethink of that incident or those incidents without any emotion being evoked. where you can actually narrate it as if it happened to someone else or it was something you read in a storybook, or when you watch a movie about it or an ad related to it, you're not bursting into tears or some other kind of emotion. The more specific you can get, the sooner you can heal it. For the blockages, find out which chakra is associated with those emotions and work with, be it music, be it with symbols, be it with color, be it with food, be it with essence, aroma, whatever works for you. Multiple of them. Affirmations, you can use as many or at least one. Crystals, gemstones, whatever you choose. Work with them to clear out that particular chakra. So it is not an overnight journey. It is not something that will happen like this. It is a process. It's an onion peel syndrome where you have to take off one thing, come to a realization, and simultaneously keep working on healing. And sometimes the same incident is the root of several things that are happening in your life. So, when that happens, you know you have reached a very significant trauma or a core wound, and you need to spend significant amount of time clearing it, forgiving everyone involved, including yourself, and working with angels, working perhaps with a therapist or healer to ensure that you can heal and then seal that particular wound and experience, and so that you can invite new things. If you start um, trying to manifest, for example, your soulmate, you have not healed from the previous wounds, all you will get is yet another version of the same incidents, the same traumas, the same behavior in one aspect or the other. So, moving on to, where does selfishness come from? Now, when people go through what they feel they were deprived of, anything, be it of love, be it of money, be it of food, you can go chakra wise, you can go emotion wise, whatever form of range you wish to use, stick to one kind and then see, where did you feel lack? Where did you feel deprived, not having enough, constantly hearing a no? That's where most likely you have selfish tendencies. So, if you felt you did not receive enough accolades, recognition, appreciation, applause, praise, any of those things, A, your solar plexus would be out of balance. Your throat chakra, as you can hear right now, it happened to remind me, and your throat chakra would either be out of balance or completely blocked. And that is where your selfishness would come out in your day to day behavior. For example, there are a lot of people who think they are being helpful, but what they're essentially offering is a selfish kind of help. Selfish help? What does that mean, Nikita? Well, when somebody desires to help you because it is somehow going to either get them appreciation, you will owe them something, you can, they will win your love, affection, loyalties, or even if it is just to alleviate their guilt. I asked, she didn't want my help, what can I do? They do it very superficially, or to alleviate their discomfort. They don't want you crying, and so they'll be like, okay, what do you need? Or here. But whenever it is a selfish kind of help, Their focus will not be on that which you need in that moment, not need as a neediness, but as a requirement. Sometimes all you require is someone to listen to you patiently and hug you. But whereas what they will be offering you is solutions. Have you thought of this? Have you done that? Making you feel even worse by treating you like an imbecile. If you go to a therapist, you are seeking professional help, and it's his or her job to go through a list of things and make suggestions to see that everything is covered. But when it's a family member, a friend, their job is to listen and be there and to guide you to take professional help, depending on the severity of the situation, of course. In a similar way, there is selfish love. These people are there to just take. They want to be looked after, they want to be provided for, they want security, they want sex, they want to feel loved, they want to feel taken care of. Or on the extreme end, they want to give, they want to be the provider so that they can feel good about themselves, so they can dominate you, so they can control you because they are taking care of everything. They use money to control you. Whatever they do for you somehow turns into an, that you're obligated to them for doing it. You have to tiptoe around them. You're afraid to say no to them. You're afraid of offending them. God forbid you do something that is not as per their definition. They will deprive you of the love, of the sex, of the cuddles. They'll give you silent treatment, or they will get aggressive, confrontative. There'll be arguments, there'll be threats, intimidations, or they will just be sulking, petulant. None of these are healthy. Nobody is addressing, nobody is in balance with the give and take. I will be making yet another video about selfish kind of love and how to move from that to a healthy form of love. So today I've just briefly touched on it. Now, when you do realize that, when a certain incident happened, since then I stopped trusting. I stopped stepping out of my house. I stopped sleeping well. I stopped sleeping without the lights on. I always, after that incident, XYZ thing changed in my personality or my behavior, which means this was not existing prior to that incident. Or when somebody, including your healer, talks to you and tries to get you to address it, and all you can answer with is, I don't know. It indicates there is an inner child over there. For inner children, you do need external therapy to integrate them. But what can you do in the meantime? One, listen. Second, acknowledge. Third, give it a voice so that the inner child's pain, trauma, anger, anything, everything can be heard by the adult you. Inner children does not indicate something that happened in your childhood. Even something traumatic, if it has happened yesterday, the fragment, the fissure, the split in your personality, in your persona, the energy of you that escapes, that shuts down or goes into a shutdown mode, is what is inner children. That part of you that can no longer function healthily because it wants to either run away or disappear or go into a kind of coma state, to put it in a layman's terms. But when you hear it out and say without judgment, Just here, I felt unloved. That inner child will probably want to blame, and it's okay. Don't judge yourself, don't be self critical. If you're going to do the very same thing that everyone around you has done with your inner child, it's going to shrink even more or act out even more, creating more self sabotage and issues within you. So you don't yell at it, don't get impatient with it, don't bully it into healing and say, yeah, but that was such a small incident. Don't trivialize its concerns, its trauma, its pain, its fears. Okay? Be in compassion, listen to it as an adult. Don't rationalize, don't give answers, don't try to do any of that. All you can do is comfort it, explain that now that you have realized this is what has been, no one stood up for me when I was being bullied. Comfort your inner child by saying, now I'm here, I'm an adult, we survived this and more, and I will ensure that we are never bullied ever again. I will stand up for us. Ask, what does that inner child need? Now, supposing the inner child says, I want you to go and beat up that child, or I want to go and beat up that child, or that teacher, or that person who did XYZ things to me, does not mean you will take a baseball bat, or a cricket bat, or a hockey stick and go and bash them up. No. But you can find a release using your imagination, making that inner child go ahead, explaining that they could do it if they so choose, and if that's the only way, but there might be a healthier way. How about confronting the person, explaining what it did? That's called the ego states room, where you give them an opportunity to vent in a safe place. Ask what it requires from you, the adult, to feel safe continuously in the near future, whenever, as well as addressing it. That's what you can definitely do for your own inner children. This is definitely a huge part of your inner work. There is a very brief video I will make on mirrors, triggers, and purging, because a lot of people seem to think crying is equal to purging, whereas it's not. All I can remind you at this time, the reason why you need to become aware, to acknowledge, to stop being in denial or wishing things away, is so that you can start the process, and I underline the word process, of healing yourself. Towards what end? Towards self empowerment, towards manifesting that which you desire, not forcing it, not manipulating it, not continuing this whole theme of unhealthy behaviors and passing it on to even the future generations. But breaking that cycle, breaking the pattern, creating a life as it should be, undoing the damage and preventing future damage, towards that end, towards reaching a conscious partnership, the highest form of love, true love, which is not based on codependencies, dysfunctions, enabling behavior, enabling of toxic behaviors or addictions, but fulfilling, enriching, truly accepting, as well as growing, evolving relationship within yourself and with others around you. And when you do it within yourself, then with your partner, then it will expand to your acquaintances, your friends, your family, your relatives, and everyone around, and your circle can expand. Just as the dysfunctions have expanded, and now you need to take back your energy, take back all the power you lost, cut your cords, call back your energy and integrate, heal and integrate your inner children. Understanding and coming from a place of awareness is where it all starts, which is why these videos, that's my intention for these videos, and may it reach anyone and everyone who needs to hear it now or whenever. So I'm going to leave you all with a lot of love and light. And I look forward to your likes, shares, comments, all the above, all of that. I love you all very, very much. God bless you. This is Nikita. Bye for now.